All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on something that affects pretty much every single person in India, but that most of us never even think about. We're diving into the National Building Code, which is, and I'm not exaggerating, the absolute foundation for the entire country's construction industry.
I mean, really, think about it for a second. You've got these towering skyscrapers, your office, the local school. What's the invisible force that makes sure they're not just pretty to look at, but are actually, safe? What's the master plan here?
Well, here's your answer. It's the National Building Code of India, or the NBC for short. And let's be clear, this isn't just some friendly suggestion. It is the master blueprint that every architect, engineer, and builder in the nation turns to. It's all about creating a safe world for all of us.
So, who's behind this massive undertaking? It's published by the Bureau of Indian Standards, the BIS. But what's really important is that this isn't the work of just a few people in a room. It's a huge collaborative effort. They brought in top experts from all over. We're talking disaster management pros, green building specialists, you name it, all working together to create one single unified standard.
Okay, so let's get into it. Here's a quick look at what we're going to cover. First, we'll break down the anatomy of the code itself. Then, we'll talk strength, steel, and even bamboo. After that, we'll see how it's all designed for safety. And finally, we'll look at the big picture, how this code is building a modern India.
First up, the anatomy of the code. And you really have to appreciate the sheer scale of this thing. It's not just about putting up walls. No. This is a massive guide that covers a building's entire life, from the first sketch on a napkin all the way to how it's managed decades later. And check this out. It's broken down into 12 distinct parts. You can kind of group them into themes. You've got the basics, like foundations and structural design. Then you get into the materials and how to actually manage the construction. Then comes the really crucial stuff like fire safety and plumbing. And it even looks to the future with whole sections on sustainability and asset management. It really is the whole shebang.
Okay, now let's get into one of the most fundamental questions: strength. How does the code make sure a building can actually handle whatever you throw at it? This is where we get into the real nuts and bolts.
This is what I find so cool. The code doesn't just say, hey, make it strong. It gets incredibly specific. A floor in a hotel bedroom has to be able to support 2 kilonewtons per square meter. But a restaurant, that needs to be double at 4.0, which makes sense, right? More people, more tables. And then you get to something like a library stack room, and it's not just a flat number. It's a whole formula based on how high the bookshelves are. That level of detail is just incredible.
And the code is amazingly versatile. It's not stuck in the past. On the one hand, you've got detailed standards for traditional materials, like the reinforced brick masonry you see there, a method that's been trusted for generations. But then it also looks forward, providing specifications for really innovative materials, like that bamboo grid wall. So whether you're building something classic or something totally cutting edge, the code has your back, making sure it's built to last.
So, a building can be super strong, but that's only half the battle. It has to be safe for the people inside it. This is where the NBC really shines, shifting focus from just engineering to actually protecting human lives, covering everything from fires to earthquakes. Let's just take fire safety. The code is smart about it. It knows a library isn't the same as a factory, so it classifies buildings by their potential fire risk. For example, places like tea factories or textile mills where you've got more combustible materials are labeled a moderate hazard, and that label changes everything. It dictates exactly what kind of fire exits, alarms, and suppression systems you have to install. It's all about matching the protection to the risk.
And that risk isn't just about what's inside the building, it's also about where it is. This map shows India's different seismic zones, basically how likely an earthquake is in a certain area. The NBC says, hey, if you're building in a zone with a higher risk, you have to follow much stricter rules. The building has to be designed to move and flex. And that's not just a suggestion, it's a mandate that literally saves lives. Okay, so let's zoom out for a minute and look at the real big picture impact. The National Building Code isn't some dusty old rulebook that never changes. It's a living, breathing document that is actively shaping the future of modern India.
And here's the proof. Look at how it's evolved. It gets regular, major updates in '83, in 2005, and again in 2016. Every single revision brings in new technologies, new materials, and new lessons we've learned along the way. For instance, that 2016 update, that's when they really started baking in new standards for green buildings and sustainability, because the country's priorities are evolving and the code has to evolve right along with them.
So when you boil it all down, why does this matter so much?
Well, first and foremost, it's about public safety, preventing disasters. It also creates a uniform standard, a common language, so an engineer in one state can understand plans from another. It guarantees a baseline level of quality. And when you put all that together, it helps the whole economy grow by making sure our infrastructure is planned, reliable, and safe.
And that leaves us with one final question to think about. We've seen how the code has already adapted to include things like bamboo and sustainability. But India's cities are growing at an incredible pace, and technology is changing faster than ever. So what do you think is the next big challenge for this essential blueprint? What's the next frontier for building a safer India?